What's going on, my good people? This is Eddie Gray, and today we are covering live loops. We're continuing on this education on this amazing program. I thought I knew the program. I've been studying it deep for 7 years, certified through Apple, deep in the game, countless hours spent, on the DAW, working on it, have been under the tutelage of some of the greatest logic instructors, and still more information is here. We're going to get right into it. I do have a mix to finish, and I just want to make sure that we make the time necessary to get the work in. So regardless if you're busy or not, you got to make sure that you get the work in. All right, so you should be looking at the user guide. So what are we covering today? Well, up to this point, we've really been covering the live loops grid and how it functions internally. This is away from the tracks area. How can we operate live loops in such a way where it can exist by itself as its own entity? So we've done that up until this point. We now understand how to record, play from, right? We now know how to trigger the cells, trigger the scenes, how to cue cells and scenes. We understand the importance of the divider column and the relationship that plays between the tracks area and the live loops grid. We now understand the quantized start indicator and how it directly relates to the playhead. And if we're ultimately going to make the most of this program, then we should probably sequence an 4 or 8 bar loop in the tracks area so that the quantized start indicator constantly has a point of reference. With all that established, we are now moving to the relationship between the live loops grid and the tracks area and how we can marry the two. All right, let's start here with view cell length and loop length as positions. So it turns out that under the choose view menu that you can change this up in such a way where you can view it as length as position from the tracks area menu bar. So let's just do that really quick. We're going to go to view and we're going to go to positions and length resolution, show lengths as position. Okay, so when I click a cell, when we look at end position, it changes the wording. So I'm not sure why that is useful, but it looks like it changed loop length. And you know what? It's funny because I always had issues with that terminology. If you don't know where to look right now, look on the left-hand side in the cell inspector. So rather than it saying loop length and cell length, it says loop end and end position. I like this way better. I'm actually going to highlight that. I like that a lot. I would get confused with the whole concept of a loop. So yeah, we're talking about top left here, folks. All right, so we're learning how to look at the newly designed live loops grid and how to operate it. So just now I changed the language and this works a lot better for me. How about show start positions as offsets? What does this do? Okay, see, I like this probably a little better too. Well, it depends. But see, if I turn that off, it says bar 1, beat 1. So that language is a little bit strange. But if I then go show start positions as offset, now I get, wait a minute. Yeah, now I get 0, 0. So like if I want it to be 2 bars, I can see, clearly where that starts and where that ends and what have you. So that may work a little bit better for me. I'm going to have to play with it, obviously. Let me go ahead and look at this section really quick. All right, so this is a Midi region or cell. And at the moment, we can see that the length of it is beyond 8 bars. So when we look at the cell, in the cell inspector, what does it say? It says loop starts at 0. Actually, this may not be better. This actually kind of is a little confusing. Hold on. So then I click here. Then it says 8. So yeah, I guess it depends on how you like to look at the information. Like right here, it's saying this is a perfect 8 bar loop. What if I go down? Yeah, so it has to be 8, 1. So what about, so the starts at bar 1, so that's okay. But it says 0, so that could be confusing. But by 0, they mean kind of an indefinite value, right? Like the beginning point. The loop end is at 9, so let's drag the loop end down to just 8. Let's see. There we go. So that's one way to do it. And then the end position, as you can see, is there and is not necessarily affected when it's outside of the loop range, but when it closes in on it, it's affecting the entire thing, isn't it? So I kind of like it, kind of don't, just because I'm not used to it, but I certainly like show length as position. So I'm going to keep that in place. Show length as position. Now I can clearly see when the loop ends. So I like that. And then the end position. So this makes a lot of sense to me. Play with it, see what you like. We can also control click anywhere in the cell inspector. Okay, we can yield the same results, right? So we can show bars only, show bars and beats, show bars, beats, and divisions. You're only really going to need show bars or show bars and beats at most. Unless you have something really complicated, I guess. Show start positions is offset. I like this one. And then the cell inspector float, which is the same as the region inspector float, except we are inside of an alternate workspace. So I have that set up as F5. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Use distance from the beginning of the cell. Okay, good. All right. Now we're playing with the resolution of the position and length values. So you can change the resolution. You go to the view menu, position and length resolution. So let's try that. Position and length resolution. Okay. Let's start with just bars and see what happens. Oh, okay. See, this is kind of cool. I can see the value here as far as simplifying it. So now I can determine, hey, I want the start to be bar 2 or bar 3 without having to think about bars, beats, divisions, ticks. Usually when we work with loops anyway, we're trying to create a systemic kind of predestined 4-8 bar loop. Now, of course, depends on time signature and all that good stuff. But generally speaking, this is probably a good place to start. I would definitely recommend this if you're a beginner. I want you to do me a favor, and I want you to enable the position and length resolution from the tracks area. I think that's very important. It's really going to help out. Let me give you another example. Let's say I want the loop start to start at bar 4, right? All I have to do is go to bar 4. So yeah, this is money right here. I definitely much prefer this. I'm going to go ahead and set this as my default. I wonder if I can do that. Yeah, I can. Cool. Very good. And then, yesterday we were learning about these defaults that you can set up in advance. Had no clue that you could do all this in advance. And again, another reason why you should be watching the series, my good friends. Absolutely next level. Will teach you so very much. I appreciate all the subs, all the shares that I've been seeing lately. All the comments are blowing up. Thank you guys very much. Let's keep it going here. So we could choose bars only. Let's choose bars and beats. Okay, let's see what happens here. Let's choose bars and beats. So now it gets a little bit more detailed because I can determine not just the bar 1, 2, 3, or 4, but the beats in between that bar. So this can be something that you move around as well. Okay, I'm going to keep it a bar. I like that workflow. Now remember, this is called position and length resolution. We can access this inside of the view menu here in the local menu, or you can access it inside of the cell inspector by control clicking. Okay, so as I stated, we are now interested in defining the relationship between the live loops grid and the tracks area. We know that we can listen to either a cell on the live loops grid or a region in the tracks area. And this term region is synonymous with cell. I just want to make sure that we all understand that. But we could never listen to both simultaneously. Okay, we're always talking about the language on this channel. And look, we don't need to learn 1,200 pages of the user guide. Most of us are going to forget a good chunk of that. But what you need to learn are the laws and how these programs operate so that you could use them in your favor. And regardless if you're busy, you've had a long day, you're tired, you just come back to the place of learning and you follow protocol. So we now know that we can listen to one or the other, but never both simultaneously. When you start a cell, any regions on the same track become inactive. So if I'm playing something in live loops, anything inside of the tracks area won't play. If I play something in the tracks area, anything inside of the cell, the live loops grid will not play. When you stop a cell, the regions are not immediately reactivated. You need to use buttons in the divider column or key commands to do this. All right. So if I hit spacebar and I stop playback, nothing's just going to start playing. I need to either hit spacebar again or hit a series of key combinations in order to get the program going again. You can also pause cells and activate regions on the same track simultaneously. We'll be going over that in a second. The divider column shows circular indicators next to the tracks where cells are playing. Okay, so they're talking about these icons here. So if it's playing, you're going to see the quantized star indicator. And if it's not, then you're going to see some other behavior. If you have a combination of tracks with activated cells and regions, both arrows of the track activation button are hollow. So it says, hey, if you have a combination with activated cells and regions, both of the arrows are going to be hollow. So let's learn more about this. This is deep stuff. All right, so when you play cells, while the project is stopped, if the playhead starts from a quantized start point, the cells start playing immediately. So you got to remember, the quantized start indicator is telling the cells when to play, and its timing is determined by the playhead. So it's not like there's a separate playhead inside of the live loops grid. It's taking its orders, if you will, from the playhead. The quantized start indicator is following the playhead. Okay? Think of it as a kind of background MIDI clock that is following the main clock or point of reference click track in order to continue the song. Yeah? Okay, so if the playhead starts from a quantized start point, they're going to play immediately. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait for an entire revolution to get that done. Now, it's interesting. If the playhead reaches all the way to the end of the project, the cells are going to keep playing. The playhead stops, but the cells continue. Now, what they don't tell you here is that, yeah, they'll keep playing so long as you don't hit the stop button. But if you try and do anything again, I don't believe they'll work. But maybe we should check that, actually. So let's see. The end of the song is here. So let's play this out. So playhead nowhere to be found, right? It's just gone. Everything is still playing. If I stop everything and I hit spacebar, again, now nothing works because nothing has been triggered or queued. If I hit this again, it will keep playing, but again, playhead, whereabouts unknown. We have no idea where it is. And I think one way to find it is by looking at the LCD screen. I could be wrong about that. It says here, yeah, there we go. So it was like beyond the range of the project. So the project ends here, and it was like at 3 something, because when you hit spacebar, it just kind of keeps going and going and going. So yeah, it just seems like it's stuck beyond that border there. But anyway, the best way to do this is to, as we've mentioned, create a cycle region and just let it run its course inside here. Right? So that when you trigger something and it does it at the beginning of the bar, like now, and now, all right, very good. Okay, so if you're using only live loops in your project, it's recommended to turn on cycle mode, as we've mentioned. However, if you're going to start recording the live loop as a performance, right, and you're going to track everything inside of the tracks area, because there's a way to actually get the information from the left side of the screen and quite literally record everything in real time inside of the tracks area, similar to Ableton, if you know about it. Okay, so let's try out a couple things. What I'm going to show you now is how to basically play material from the live loops grid and the tracks area at the same time. So the divider column up here, globally, the one at the very top, is choosing this side of the screen or this side of the screen. Now, if I give you a couple tricks here, we can actually do a little bit of both. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to trigger the scene in a second. And then by holding Option, I'll be able to trigger the information playing in live loops grid, and then I'll be able to toggle information playing over here. If I just use the divider column without hitting the appropriate key command, what happens is we hear this information or that information. So let me show you what I mean. So right now we're focusing here, and press play. See how it just keeps playing this information because I'm not triggering this one back and forth. Well, look at what happens when I hold Option. Okay, same scenario. Let's go. So again, what happens is rather than playing one and then stopping, we get to access both back and forth. So it's a fun way, creating new creative possibilities, artistic possibilities, and combining the live loops grid with the tracks area. So really nice. Okay. So let's see, it says here, the bottom of the divider column. So if you want to stop everything, right, you click the grid stop button at the bottom right, or you can stop multiple cells individually, as we've talked about, or we could just hit the divider column. So if you want to stop something, there's a couple ways to do it. Trigger the cell itself. So let's say I'm playing this one here. I click. Sorry about that. So this is actually a good user case. So you see how all of these divider columns are pointed to the left, 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 and then this one here is pointing to the right. So that tells me that I could be focusing my attention in the live loops grid, but unless I change the direction of that, and I see now that it's muted, then I understand that the attention now is solely inside of the live loops grid. Now, what would be helpful, and I should put in a request. I just made a video about the Logic Pro community. I've just joined it, and I've been answering questions there extensively. So if you're looking for resources, information, go ahead and check me out there. Chameleon8. I'll be making a video in the next day or two, so look out for that. But if I hit the divider column up here, okay, you can see that globally speaking, now this works well because I'm looking at everything on this side. But what we need to do is dim everything here because it's not clear to the user what's going on. I mean, why is it that everything dims when we focus on the live loops grid here? Let me just make a couple more of these, not because this is going to make any musical sense, but I just want you to see the disparity here. It doesn't make any sense. I click to the right, we can see that all of these are ready to go, right? And if I click again on the divider column, now we're focusing on the live loops grid. So yeah, this needs to be cleared up here. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I just think it would make a little bit more sense, especially for beginners. Okay, so if we want to stop, we can also hit the divider column. So let's check that out real quick. So I'm going to click that one time, and then now that has stopped. We also know that we can click on an empty cell right next to it. So lots of different ways to do this, not just one way. Just want to make sure you understand how to go about it. You can hit the stop all grid button here, bottom right. Right, that pertains to one cell or the entire scene. So however you want to do it, that's fantastic. But again, if you want that relationship back and forth, then you're going to have to try this another way. So let me, so what's interesting up here is that if I hold Option and click up here, another behavior occurs from my understanding. Let's check it out. So if I don't hold Option, basically we're either just hearing the information on the left or the information on the right. But what's interesting here is when I hold Option, the cells that are positioned and playing back on scene number 4, they're all playing okay. But there are 3 cells, 1, 2, and 3 that are empty and are currently occupied. Wait a minute. I think it was just 2. So just 1 and 2. These cells end up playing kind of in spite of the fact that, you know, we're using the divider column. So we are hearing information that is in the tracks area. So let's play this again. I'll hold Option and we'll listen. In fact, let me just delete these 2 so that this is 100% clear. So let's play now. Then I hold Option, click, and you're going to hear these 2 playing back in addition to this vertical scene. Let's go. So that's another way to go about it. Very good. All right, so while the cells are playing, we hold Option, then we click the pause button at the bottom of the divider column. Okay. So the cells pause, and then the regions are audible. To restart the cells, press Option and click the restart button at the bottom of the divider column. Press Option and click the restart button in the divider column on any track, or click the restart button on the paused cells. So let's see, we'll press play. All right, so yeah, spend some time with it. Essentially, if you're holding Option, new behavior happens. If the cells are playing or not, you will start to uncover that as soon as you start to play with this, okay? Last one, when a scene is playing, Option, click the scene trigger of the scene that is playing. At the next quantized start point, any cell playing in the scene pause and the regions on the same tracks are audible. So the next time we're going to hit Option, and let's see what happens. Okay, so all that's going to do is trigger the scene. Oh, I'm sorry. All that's going to do is cue the scene. So if I hold Option and I cue this, see it's ready to play back, I'll hit spacebar. So let me try this with these. Yeah, this is a little bit aberrant because there's other cells that are still in focus because they're still in cue. So let me hold Command Return. So if I hold Option, click here, we see that all of these are in focus. If I hit spacebar, okay, so these are still in focus, but I'll hit Option, click these in scene 2, but there's still other ones that are ready for playback. So it's not until I hold Option and essentially stop the individual cells. Okay, so then now we're just going to hear everything in scene 2 when I hit spacebar, or you can hit the play button right up here. I've hit spacebar again. We've stopped. They're still ready. They're still in queue. And once I'm ready to stop them, I'll hit that. And there we go. So Let's try one more thing. All right. What's interesting is if I hold Option while hitting the Stop All Grids button, it doesn't stop them. It just stops them from playing per se, but they're still in queue. So watch for that behavior as well. Hitting this button will ultimately stop everything, the playback and the queue, whereas if you hold Option and click it, you're just stopping the playback, but not the fact that it's in queue. And when I say in queue, I mean ready for playback. Very good. All right, let's transition into editing live loops inside of Logic Pro. So we know that we can arrange and edit cells in the live loops grid much as you do when working with regions. The basic functions are easy. They're similar to the equivalent functions of the regions, but I'm telling you the tracks area is just a better place to work in general. So if you need to make some serious edits, move it out of the cells, the live loops, and move it into the tracks area. Parameters for selected cells appear in the cell inspector, which replace the region inspector when cells are selected. When you select a single cell, the title bar of the cell inspector shows the cell name. We know that. When you select multiple cells, just as in the region inspector, the title bar shows the number of selected cells. You can use the cell editor to view and edit the regions and cells similar to the way you edit regions in the piano roll editor, the audio track editor, and the drummer editor. So if I click here, the name is reflected up on the top left. I can also double click and rename if I wanted to. Okay. If I click, drag, and create a selection, I can see clearly I have 23 of these ready to go, right? Ready for me to check out. So that's cool. Let me see if I zoom in. Can you guys see that? Just looking at my playback here. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see when I zoom. I just need to see this for my purposes. Hope you're doing well out there. Eddie Gray at your service. We're over in LA broadcasting live. No, I don't see it zoom. If you see it zoom, just let me know. I'm just curious. I want to know what you guys are looking at, right? How things are positioned. No, I don't see any zoom whatsoever. All right, cool. Let's keep it going. All right, so then now we're going to select cells in the live loops grid. All we're talking about is selection. Some people think this is meticulous. Some people think this may be a little bit over the top. I'm telling you, if you spend the time to educate yourself, you'll have clarity. You won't stress. I play with this program. I work with this program. I have big time clients. I've been able to make a living at this the last couple years, 7 to be exact. And really it's been more 5 because it took me some time to actually transition. But it's all because of the program, because of the knowledge and the dedication to learning it, right? I took it serious. To me, it was like I was learning to play an instrument. That's the way I really looked at it. I took it serious. Like I needed to execute and I needed to win. I know there's people out there right now that are in the same shoes, right? And so we're here on the channel, Resources for the Modern Creative, just looking to help people in that position. Right? We're not interested in the rest of it. This is not a glamorous channel. We're not interested in all the riffraff. We want dedicated human beings that are ready to work. If that's you, then stay on because we're going to get dirty. We're going to get our hands dirty. We're really going to learn this in a deep way, in a substantial way that will sustain you for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years plus. All right? All right, let's keep going. Selecting cells. So obviously at the most basic level, 101, if you just bought Logic, click on it one time, and now you have selected a single cell. Now it says here to click the upper part of the cell. I'm curious why. These are things that I like to look at and nerd out over. If you haven't checked me out in the Apple Logic Pro community, please do. Okay, so if I click the bottom portion, what happens is that we are triggering the cell. So you see, we're trying to bring clarity into your life here so that you understand how to work with the program and ultimately how to have fun with the program. Because I don't know about you, but for me, the learning is really just a means to an end. I want to do music. I want to get into the vibe and into the world of it, right? I want to spend time just nerding out over plugins every day. I love nerding out over plugins, but ultimately why we get drawn to it like a moth to the flame is because we just love music, right? So if when I click on the top portion, we can see that I am selecting this cell, that cell. And you know what? I haven't really confirmed if I'm actually selecting it because it's like I'm just hovering. So I'm not sold entirely on this concept yet. So it says here, select a single cell, click the upper part of the cell, but I haven't seen that. I know I can shift click it. Let me give you a quick example about that. If I hold shift, right, I can click on, oh, that's because all of these are selected. Okay, my bad. All right, so look, I'm clicking on these cells and they are in focus, right? So if I hold shift, now I've deselected, nothing is selected. This can be corroborated in the cell inspector. It says audio defaults, meaning nothing is selected, but the channel strip that's in focus is probably an audio track, and hence that's why you see that. If I have a MIDI track in focus, like channel 36, then you'll see MIDI defaults. Something has to be in focus. It's either going to be a software instrument, an audio, right, drummer. And so right now, Logic is selecting in the track header, track 36, but inside of the live loops grid, no cell is selected, right? I'm going to click one time right now, and now that cell, that grid to be specific, which contains the cell, has been selected. I'm going to hold shift, click again. Okay, now we've deselected. Let me zoom in a little tighter. I'm going to click the top portion of this cell right here. Boom. It is in focus. Okay, so when I click away from it, now I've selected this cell or grid. I'm going to hold shift, deselect it. Try this exercise. I know it seems so 101, but how can you climb a mountain if you don't know how to do the most basic of functions, right? If you can't climb a basic precipice, like how can you get to that next level, Kilimanjaro, right? So again, at the very top, I click one time. Now it's in focus. I click away. The cell, the empty cell is in focus. I hold shift, I click, and then now we're back. Now, why you need to know this, my good friends, is because now, look, I'm using the arrow keys to, let me zoom back a little bit. Not in, but back. Is Z not going to help me out here? No? Okay, let me hold option, scroll down, and that gets me there. Okay, good. So look, I'm using the arrow keys. Look at that. I am selecting which specific cell I want to be focused on and also which track. And those are kind of interrelated. So if I press up, not only is the track being selected, 35 in this case, but I'm also selecting the next cell over, right? That's right on top. Same here. Left and right gives me horizontal access to the next, right? And why this is important is because if I wanted to deselect this, we know, I don't know if there's a key command, I got to be honest, but we know that, no, that just created a track. We know that we can hold shift and click that, and then now nothing inside of the live loops grid is selected. Again, if I hit the right arrow key, this begins the search once again, and now we can utilize it as so, okay? All right, so then we now know that if we want to create multiple selections of cells, we can shift click the upper part of the cell, the upper part of the selected cell to deselect them. So if you want to deselect, you would just continue holding shift. Starting from an empty cell, drag around the cells to enclose them. So this is just creating a lasso selection, just like this. Okay, and if I hit delete, all of these are obviously going to go bye-bye. All right, let's keep going here. Shift click to a cell to start a selection, then continue to hold shift as you drag around other cells. So then now this is, you know, another way. So like if I click on, let's say these three at the bottom, okay? But then I want to create a selection up here. If I continue holding shift, I can create a non-contiguous selection. These three, to be clear, let me draw this out. These three, I didn't draw that well, but you see it. And then we created a big circle right up here somewhere. Yeah, this program is bugging out. All right, cool. Let's keep it going. Now we know how to select these. And why this is important is because I can actually trigger all of these if I wanted to, right? And so this is what we're going for, is how do we trigger all of these like so. Okay, now I've stopped all of those. So then now I'll select this one, that one, and that one. Let's see what this sounds like. I'm gonna hit return, trigger all of them. So isn't that pretty cool? Just right, experimenting. It's like, let's select those. So I can play out a full song, right? Try out a bunch of different ideas, playing lower registers, playing higher registers, play with little distortion, a lot of distortion, and all of a sudden just pick and play, right? Just mix and match and just like have fun with it. It's fantastic. Let's keep going here. If we want to select all cells, we can use the traditional Command A. If we want to select all the following, we would hit Shift F. This is a common theme in Logic if you want to select all following. So let's say I want to select everything after this. Shift F selects everything. I thought it was going to select everything just on that row, but I would assume for that we would hit Shift Control F or something. Yeah, something in that world. So if I wanted to mute all those, you could. All right, let's keep going, my good friends. Select all the following cells on the same track. We just talked about that. Select all cells on the same track. Control click one of the, hold on, wait, I lost. Control click one of the selected cells. All cells of the same track from the shortcut menu. Okay, all cells of the same track. I don't know, let's give this a spin. All, control click. I don't see all cells of the same track. Oh, select. Okay, cool. What do we got? All cells of the same track. I'm assuming it's this one. They changed the language up a little bit, it looks like. Right? This one says all cells, and the other one says all following cells. Unless I missed something. All right, selecting all muted cells, Control M. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Shift M, choose edit, select muted cells. So let's say you have a bunch of cells muted. I can hit Shift M, and that's also another theme. I only have one muted. In this case, it's right here. So now it has been selected without necessarily having to select it, and I'll just hit delete. So Shift M, and I want to highlight that. That's a good one. All right, select all cells of the same color. Right, so that's Shift C. So if I hit this one, now it's not really going to pertain because everything here is color coded, but Shift C. All right, what about, no, not that. Let's go Shift C. All right, you get the point. All right, let's keep going. Select all empty cells in the live loops grid. Oh, empty cells? That's cool. Why would you want to select all empty cells? No idea. Invert selection. This one's nice. Right? This is also another theme in Logic. So let's just say I wanted to select everything but this one right here. So I'll hit Shift I. Everything has been selected. I delete it. Well, what's fascinating is when hold on. I want to do that one more time. So I have information in here that I created earlier. I think when I deleted everything, could be wrong. I'm going to double check this real quick. So I like to leave this on playing in the background. So I think when I deleted everything, Shift I believe everything on the right side automatically started playing. Let's see if I'm wrong about that. Yeah, cool. So that's something that hasn't been mentioned, right? They didn't lay it out like, hey, just want to let you know if it's, the playhead is playing, but everything is in key focus inside of the live loops grid. If you delete everything, just a heads up. So these, again, another reason why it's important to watch the channel and get ahead, catch all the little nuances. Cut a cell, right? We can edit, cut. All right, it's pretty simple. I don't know what the difference, why you wouldn't just like delete it. Maybe because you want to paste it, but yeah. So let's go Command X, and then we'll Command V that there. So everybody knows that behavior. Copy C, copy V, same bit. We can move cells. Okay, in Logic Pro, we can move cells to an empty or filled cell in the same row or to another row of the same type. We've talked about this already. If I drag MIDI into audio, hold on. So right now this stuff is playing again. I'm just going to mute this so it doesn't get in my way anymore. Very cool. All right. So what was I saying? I play this back. Oh yeah, if I drag this into an audio track, it's not letting me, right? These are not playing well because it's not the same kind of track. If I drag this drummer loop into an audio, let's see what happens. Same thing. Logic's saying, hey, you can't do that, right? It's not going to work. Now I could drag an audio into another audio. So I'll grab this one here and I'll drag it right below, and you can see that it's still playing. Check it out. Good. Not recommended to mix and match in that manner. You want to make sure that if you are playing and selecting a keyboard, that everything on this track is a keyboard. I don't think they did that in this song, but I think that's just a good practice, 101, just to not confuse yourself. How are you supposed to learn where everything is? I mean, how many cells are in here? Let me hit Command A. So head count for all these cells, team, 95, right? How are you supposed to remember all these? So it's good to color code, name everything properly. And if you're really detailed, you could hit T, open up the text tool, and you can start to name these as well. So you can say, hey, this is snare, and this one is the rev piano, yada yada. Okay. TT brings me back to the tool menu. Y is recording. Okay, cool. Let's hit spacebar. Okay. Okay, so we know that we can drag a drummer cell to another drummer track, but we can also drag a pattern cell to another software instrument track. Remember that a pattern is just MIDI, and so these two will play nice. MIDI, software instrument, and pattern, same thing, right? We now, rather than having to record MIDI, right, we can create a pattern cell and draw in the information now, right? New day, new time. Okay, swap cells. How do we do that? In Logic Pro, select one or more of the cells and drag them to the cells that you want to swap them with. Now, before you release that mouse, you want to press and hold the Control key. So let's say I wanted to swap this and that one. I'm going to hold Control, and that's going to swap them. Now, did you miss that? If I go in really tight, hope you can see this zoom. I click, and then as I'm coming over, look at that. There's a green button indicating that there's a transaction that's about to go down, and we're about to swap. Right? That did not replace it. If I would not have done that, it would have replaced it, as you can see here. That was not the case. Command return stops all cell playback and cues. Renaming a cell. You can control click it, rename, use the tool as I showed you, or Shift N. I like that a lot, actually. Shift N. I'm going to take that. I'm going to grab that right now. How's it going, guys? Eddie Gray at your service. We are covering the Logic User Guide. 660. Can you believe that? Doing this 6 days a week. If you're liking the content, go ahead and sub. It really helps out the channel. We're out to do big things, and we're doing a lot. We're helping artists all over the world, paying people. This is real stuff. You can check out the channel. People are making money through our music academy, and this is just a way of giving something free, right? Just because we love creative people. We know what it's like to climb, to work, and to just want an opportunity. So that's what we're doing here. We're just giving people the realest information. We're not going to find this anywhere else. That's a guarantee. 100. I'm telling you right now, you're not going to find this anywhere. So cool. Let's keep going, and then we'll call it a wrap. I got a mix to finish here. Delete a cell, right? You can delete, mute a cell, Control M inside of the cell inspector. We can also do the same. We can also utilize the mute tool. So all basic stuff that can translate from the tracks area. If we want to set an audio to ignore the project tempo, okay, now this is interesting, right? Say, hey, this is a one shot. This is kind of like a whimsical vocal sample. Does not pertain to the project tempo. I wanted to avoid project tempo. In some cases, you might want an audio cell to ignore project tempo play at its original tempo. This can be useful if you have cells containing spoken word, a one shot, what have you. So all you have to do here is deselect the follow tempo checkbox in the cell inspector. Okay, if you deselect flex and follow, this is just riding on its own. It's not relying on project tempo. If the track is in flex mode, turn off flex and follow in the cell inspector. So if you're utilizing Apple loops, you have to deselect the follow tempo, and if you are using, I would assume, third party or material that you recorded in yourself, then that's when you utilize flex, right? We're not really utilizing flex or loops because they come out perfect. Essentially, I'm sure you could change the pitch or timing, but the functionality changes a little bit. So let's look at that really quick. So for let's say this, and I'm not sure if this is an Apple loop or not. But yeah, you see how it says follow tempo right here? That means this is an Apple loop. See, I recorded this in. Oh, I don't think we'll see this because obviously this is MIDI. So let's see. Let me see if I can record in some audio really quick. Yeah, we're gonna have to just give this a go. Let's see. I'm gonna just record it off screen here. See, I think I have my inputs turned off. Yeah, I do. I don't want to do this because I don't want anything to crash. But essentially, it's gonna look different, right? With an Apple loop, it says deselect, and then if it's not, you can. Oh, you know what? Why don't I grab like just a sample from somewhere? Let me see if I can grab something real quick. Yeah, I could grab these guitars that I made in here. Actually, wait, I have one right there. All right, so let's grab these. Just drag them over. I'm just going to literally drag them over. Okay, so again, this is something that I recorded myself. So here it is right here, just a guitar. And so we're not seeing the last let's see, it says flex and follow. Isn't that what we saw last time? Flex and follow, yeah. Whereas with Apple loops, we're going to see the tempo thing. So let me take off flex and follow, right? And then again, for Apple loops, you're going to see that checkbox right there. Okay, let's keep going. If you want to change the playback of the speed, you can do so. Control-click, settings, speed, then choose a value from the submenu. So in the case of, let's go to the drum beat up here. Take a listen to this beat, my friends. Good. Control-click. Go playback, speed. Let's do double time. Okay, good. That's how you would affect that speed. What else we got? Click the disclosure triangle in the sound spectrum next to play mode. All right, so if I click next to play mode, it looks like we can affect speed here as well. So it's a very detailed menu. Let me bring this out for you guys by way of key command. Check that out. All right, so the cell inspector, lots going on here. Inside of the play mode, we have the ability to affect reverse, speed. Here's our play from menu, right? We can control all MIDI parameters such as velocity, dynamics, gate. Please learn these. Will make such a difference in your life and in your workflow. Good stuff. Now, if I'm on an audio track per se, let's go back to this F5, and now we're looking at more information, right? Here's my recording. Very cool. So spend some time with this, get to know what you're looking at, okay? Speed parameters not available for audio cells that have flex and follow. Okay, so let's look at this. In fact, I want to highlight that. I feel like that's such a just point of frustration for people. So this is an audio track, the one I dragged in a second ago, and I'm going to turn on flex and well, actually, here, before we do that, let's just go into play mode, and I can affect the speed right now if I wanted to, right? It's available. But if flex and follow is on, guess what? It's not going to adhere. It doesn't work that way. It's going to say, hey, we can't help you because you are following the project tempo. We're flexing and we're following tempo. But if you are off of the project tempo, then we can work with you, right? All right, let's keep going. Reverse cell playback. So again, unprecedented. Never have we been able to reverse cell playback. We know we can reverse audio, but even then it's playing relative to the timeline. It's not the same thing. Here the timeline is moving forward and there's kind of a unique timeline with the cell. Let me show you what I mean because it's going to blow your mind. So listen to this specific cell right here, my good friends. Okay, so you hear how that's going forward and it's moving with the playhead on the right hand side. Let me close these really quick. Okay, well, there's a key command as well, but if I go to playback, I can literally tell this thing to reverse. So watch now. So this is wild, right? The fact that we can reverse the cell. Now, okay, most of you probably would say that's not exciting. We could do that with, with audio before. But touche, my good friends. I got more. Midi can now reverse as well. So when we look at the line that I played, actually, let's look at this one real quick. Check this out. Okay, this is good. All right, so I'm going to click here. And then this time I'll hit reverse in the cell inspector. A lot easier. Or you can hit Control-Shift-R. And now let's look at this. Reverse. Oh, wait, I think I clicked on the wrong one. Let's try that one more time. Click. Let's give it a spin. So that's the same exact line, but being played in reverse order. So that's pretty sweet. Let's do that and play it double time. Let's see what that sounds like. All right, I will stop by hitting the stop all grid button, stop all cells button. All right, cool. Let's keep this going. Reverse cell playback, very good. You can also control click the cell, right? Hit that key command, very good. All right, guys. Hey, I got to finish a mix. Much love, much respect to you. My name's Eddie Gray. If you're liking the content, just go ahead and sub. That's all we ask. Just share. Send this to one person. You're like, hey, this guy knows his stuff on live loops. I know you've been wanting to perform. Sister, I've been watching you. You're a budding singer, and you need the information. Go check out Eddie Gray, the Logic Sensei. He wants to help you out. This guy's on a mission to help modern creatives all over the world. That's all he wants to do. He's been helping people already. Proof is in the pudding. Go look at hfmusicacademy.com. People are getting paid. People are getting noticed. And people are making moves. All right, we're going to get out of here. A lot of great videos coming soon. The next time I see you guys, we're going to be editing the live loops in scenes. We're going to work on scenes. We've put a lot of attention on the actual cells. So we will learn a lot more about the scenes and how to work with those. All right, my good friends, let me go ahead and save this. As always, I always encourage you to stay in your A game. It's been a long day. I usually don't come on at this time. We're usually on 10, 11, 12, but the commitment remains the same. So thank you for being a part of this journey. Thank you for all the comments, for all the shares. Thank you for hitting the notification bell. And most of all, just thank you for being you. I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Remember to keep growing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep your frequency high. I'm going to get out of here. Take good care. Cheers.